Remember when Trump invited President Zelensky to the White House just so that he could basically humiliate him in a photo op along with J.D. Vance and after already accusing him of being a dictator, of starting the war that Russia started against Ukraine. Uh, that's Trump. He did the same in a sense. He did the same with Netanyahu on his second visit to DC. He did the same with what's his name, Ramaphosa, who may have deserved it a little bit, but that's Trump's style. Well, Donald Trump has received the diplomatic equivalent of that, or broader diplomatic equivalent with Iran. Um, this has been going since he said we're going to talk to them, we're going to beg them. This was not the words he used, but beg them to not build a nuke. Uh, and they keep saying, look, your red lines are unacceptable to us. We can sit down, but it was clear it was not going to happen unless the US completely moves in Iran's direction. Well, Iran is now semi-officially saying that it is not going to sign a deal, that it rejects it. And now the ball is in Donald Trump's court. So President Trump, before the negotiations, said, I wanna make a deal, but if not, we're gonna bomb them. Like he said this as close to explicitly as possible. Well, Mr. President, they said no. Now's your chance to either be Obama, have a red line that the other side crosses, and then you seemingly forget about, or do what needed to be done before. Do what needed to be done instead of negotiations. Do what you should have done in your first term, and to your in your defense, so should all the other presidents have done in recent in the past few decades. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginzberg. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus. Daniel, we whenever there's like breaking news about either a hostage deal or the Iran stuff, I hesitate to do shows about it because of how these things, the information we get is incomplete, and it sounds so similar when I see the headlines and the stories that I don't think there's much to say. Here, there is much to say because this is what Trump said. It was those two options. One is now off the table. There is only one left. Will he do it?
Well, there's many sort of like things to go through, and sort of the most disappointing part is that I don't think Trump has like any ability to deal with politics at all. His red line was that Iran couldn't enrich uranium in inside of Iran. If you know anything, you know they'll never accept that. That there is no way. Why would they ever want something, accept something like that? So you're already putting a red line that they will never accept. And so I don't know what's going on. Like, are we actually going to attack? Because you could say, oh, it's for the chess. He just puts out this deal, so they'll refuse the deal, so we'll have a justification to go in, and he could break it all up. And I mean, first of all, you don't need that. Second of all, I don't think this is what's happening here. So like I'd like to comment on some like what is the strategy here or what we're going for, but as with Trump for a long time it has been, I just have no idea if he has any sort of like plan. As we said, okay, so the red line is no enriching inside of Iran. Iran has said even if there is a deal, this is simply something we won't accept ever. This was not part of Obama's deal, as you said. And if they keep enriching, if they do want a nuclear weapon, then yeah, you have to stop their enrichment. I think the only way you can stop it is to go in and blow up whatever you can, blow up whatever you need, if not a whole regime change. Um, but so yeah, sort of like the court is kind of in Trump's court, but it's important to remember Iran will never like straight up reject something. They'll continue saying, yeah, we just have these demands, but let's continue negotiating. I mean, there's been like 5 rounds of talk, and we have like nothing to show for it. Like, I don't think there's been like a single sort of like agreement. So they benefit from this going on forever until they get the nuclear weapon, and we are in a complete different field. Like with North Korea, once you get a nuclear weapon, like Russia, once you get a nuclear weapon, we acknowledged in the West that if you have a nuclear weapon, you can pretty much do whatever. You can invade countries around you, and we will not do anything about it. So when Iran gets nuclear weapons, it will pretty much mean that they can. I mean, they can even do it right now, right? They can fund different paramilitary groups all around Middle East. They can fund hacker groups to attack America. They can kill Americans. They can kidnap Americans, and nothing will happen to them. What will happen when they get a nuclear weapon is that even when better people get into power, it's going to be hard, if not straight up impossible, to do anything about it.
Yeah. Um, Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC said, so sad what happened in Colorado. Yeah, I mean, there, like I've said, this is the reason why we talk about this all the time. We are living in 1930s Germany, in the US, in Britain. Yeah, if Jews gather somewhere, they are likely to be attacked. That is the West today, or there's a high possibility, let's say, that they will be attacked. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Um, yeah, so yeah, back to this idea of a deal and what a deal is. As we've said, an actual deal, if one happened in the most favorable scenario, supposedly for the West, all it does is put the current ambitions to have a nuclear weapon by Iran, the regime that says death to America and death to Israel, putting that on hold. What it does not put on hold is the sponsoring of terrorism worldwide. It doesn't put on hold the oppression of the Iranian people. That's an amazing thing when Trump praises, Iran publicly as we're having great talks and so on. You are talking about the people who kill women who don't cover their hair. This is who you're praising. So and again, Trump, we criticize him daily and will continue to do so. But in this case, he is not unique. Biden, what's his name? Obama had a deal with him. Biden defended Iran from Israel. So yeah, Trump is continuing in what other presidents were doing, but he's doing it in his over-the-top Trump style. And it is a moment of choosing for him what he's actually going to do. There was an incident the first Trump term in office. There was an incident in Iran, which I'm trying to remember the details of, but something like they shot down an American drone, I think it was, uh, or maybe I'm mistaken. There was an incident that military action was considered in response, and Trump said later, "Well, we had a target, we were about to do it, and then I was told that I don't remember how many people were going to die, and I said I don't want to do that." So. Uh, Look, this is by the way what's being demanded of Israel. Don't respond because people are going to die. It's too many of these empty slogans are used to justify ultimately the West allowing these savages to do their thing and kill people uh, without facing the consequences. And Trump also talks about ending the war in Gaza and what might happen there. And again, all of these problems are not immediately solved, but are a big step towards solving them is removing the one of the biggest threats to world peace. And I say one of because Russia is still around, as is China. But yeah, one of the biggest threats to world peace, which is the Iranian regime. That should be the goal, by the way, if military action does happen. It's not going to be the goal. The goal will be to set them back in their nuclear program, but that should be the goal. And even military action that only sets them back, by the way, could end the regime because of how weak it is, because it is currently in its absolute weakest state, probably since its early years. Iran economically is in a very bad situation. People can't wait to get rid of that regime and live in the West. I mean, the live like Westerners. The desire of Iranians to be free, I think, is uh, almost as strong as the desire of many Western college students to live under totalitarianism.
Um, A little bit more about the deal. It's important to remember that if a deal happens, Trump will have to give Iran something. There will be some part of it will be, strengthening Iranian regime, right? They either sanctions are lifted, which I think is a big part of basically before even they started talking about the deal. Iran wants some guarantee that sanctions will be lifted, so we know that the funds might be unfreezed. I mean, funds would definitely be unfreezed if there is any sort of a deal. There's I think like hundreds of billions around the world from like different countries of Iranian funds, and I think America still is holding a couple billion of them as well. As we said, it might be that letting them continue enriching further, which they are already much higher than any sort of civilian use would warrant. So we already know they are trying to do that, or they're trying to get something out of it. Which again, if we strengthen Iranian regime, we are condemning the freedom-seeking people inside of Iran. What else is that? Even when we talk about sort of like a response, the fact that oftentimes it's being talked about as setting them back, it's that's not a long-term solution, especially when setting them back oftentimes means strengthening them in many areas. I'm trying to remember the name for the Israeli hacker attack that happened to the Iranian sort of like nuclear research. But basically, there was an Israeli sort of attack, like a hacker attack, some time ago. And because of that, Iran started developing their own sort of like cyber offensive capabilities, and now has one of the strongest like cyber offensive sort of like possibilities around the world. So even setting them back is not enough. You need to end this regime. I don't think there is any sort of like other solution besides I don't think we can wait for the regime to fall. Every dictatorship will fall, every dictatorship falls apart, but it won't if we keep giving it sanctions. It won't if we wait for it to get stronger, if we wait for it to develop nuclear weapons and to have those. And even then, even the dictatorship with nuclear weapons can fall apart like Soviet Union, but I don't think we want a regime with nuclear weapons to fall apart into basically see whatever warlord will get a hand, whatever like you know even more Islamist regime will manage to get hold of those weapons.
Yeah, Stedman says, yes, Trump wants a Nobel Prize so badly he will agree with any dictator and do anything. Yeah, that's the amazing thing is, yeah, look at past Nobel Peace laureates. That is who's who of horrible people for the most part, and people like Obama who won it for being not Bush, not George W. Bush. Basically, he won it right after he got elected. So but it does, I think, help people understand maybe even some of the super pro-Trump people who are now seeing the results. Remember, this guy is a lifelong Democrat, and that's not a defense of Republicans. It's just if you want to understand Trump, look at what Democrats were advocating for throughout previous decades. That is who Donald Trump is. That is who so many members of his cabinet are. And of course, the others are people who may have been Republicans, but are going along with whatever he is doing now. So, not Republicans, not people who are ideologically pro free market and pro national security. Uh, and yeah, I mentioned, Iranians want to be free, but this is not what it's about. Let's make that clear. America and Israel should not attack Iran to save the Iranian people from their regime. That is going to be a very nice byproduct, but that's not the point of it. But remember, Iranians, you see pro-regime, demonstrations and so on that have many people. I'm sure there are many who are in favor of the regime and certainly in favor of the goal of wiping Israel off the map. But Remember, if you go to one of those protests, if you don't go to one of those, you might get in trouble. If you in any way challenge the government on anything it does, you could get killed. And yet people do that. People risk their lives in Iran just to fight against the regime. So this is again such a fantastic moment to, without great risk to us, getting rid of this massive, massive threat. And it's not just a threat of what they might do when they have nukes. It is a regime that is already doing bad and is already responsible for many, many, many deaths. Um, okay, there was another point, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, sort of going back to the sort of like Trump's first administration and his dealings with Iran. So we all remember the killing of the Soleimani, which was a great blowback or sort of like a something to do to Iran. That Soleimani was not somebody you could easily replace for Iran. So then there was a response from Iran where they attacked one of the military bases close on the border with Iran, and then there was no response afterwards. So yeah, I mean, the biggest problem is that there is no vision, right? There are no principles. That there is no sort of like a goal we are going for, some idea we want to achieve. There is no like 4 year plan. It's we are going day by day. We are seeing what will happen, and we respond based on that, right? It's like he says he wants a deal with these people, he wants a deal with it, like yeah, his whole thing is like he always wants a deal. And I mean, somebody mentioned the sort of the Nobel Peace Prize. I remember from his first administration. I'm not sure if it was specifically sort of like him going to North Korea, if that was, but sometimes one time he joked like, "Oh, I should get a Nobel Peace Prize for this or for
He
like
didn't go
talking."
to North Korea. You met him in Singapore, no? Or did he also go there?
He went to North Korea. He crossed the border.
Really?
Yeah, and during his first administration.
Oh,
Um,
he does a lot of shit. I don't remember
I
all of
mean,
it.
somebody
Huh.
can correct me in the chat. I can check, but I remember him sort of like doing that. And yeah, he later joked about, he should get a Nobel Peace Prize for this because he's like connecting people. If that, and there is some sort of like idea to it. I remember there is after the January 6th, there was a lot of investigation for it, and we have like conversations inside people from people how people were talking about it on sort of January 6th, and we have one comment from his son saying that he has to stop those people from going in because this will tarnish his legacy. That was the only thing they sort of cared about, not what this means. It's this is bad image, this is bad PR. So there is something to be said about sort of like he does really care sort of about his image, and yeah, it and he will never do something that is difficult because again, war with Iran, while not necessarily difficult on the sort of you know getting rid of them, it's pretty easy, but to handle the morality of it, right? Like the world will not be behind you. You will have to do it alone, which Trump can do to some extent. I mean, if there is like something he should be hated for, I think if he invades Iran, if he gets rid of that regime, it's something that I think rightfully he should sort of stand out to the world's opinion of him. But it's never anything in that regard. It's always something different.
But that's the thing with Trump. And Jonathan Hoenig pointed this out in 2016 on Neil Cavuto's show when he tore his shirt and showed that he's voting for Hillary. That's the thing with Trump. The problem with Trump is if he does something good, it is forever going to be associated with Trump and all the horrible things that he does. This is obviously a great thing if it happens, and it's a big if, and it's something that the world should thank him and Israel for if it is done. Uh, but it's done by the same guy who, in a few months in office, has destroyed free trade around the world. Has embraced some of the worst dictators and thrown some of America's most important allies under the bus, and in some cases shown great support and then thrown them under the bus. It's you know. It's very, very problematic. But look, it needs to be done. And so the world, and in a sense, you don't want the world's support on some things, when this is a world that supports the Palestinians. You know, they are on the wrong side of history. They're on the wrong side of almost everything, and Trump for other reasons is as well. And yeah, sad statement on the world we live in. A much better statement on the world we live in is giving a super chat to ARCUK, which Christian has done. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says in Vienna, German journalist Ulf Hochard spoke in front of the art scene, in front of the art scene, and dedicated a speech to the IDF before going on a rant against the woke Israel-hating crowd. I was laughing so hard. A must-watch. Yeah, we will look it up. It sounds. Look, the problem is I see people. Look at what happened in Colorado. I mean, you risk your life. You don't risk your life. Uh, with a PLO flag chanting from the river to the sea, let's kill all the Jews, or however they put it, um, because nobody, the other side isn't violent, but the pro-Palestinian side is a side that supports genocide in the actual meaning of the term, is advocating for it, and some of them might actually act on some of their ideas. That is a risk, which is why, when Daniel said, "Oh, I'm coming to London, I have a Israel patch on my bag," and I'm like, why would you do that? First of all, in the context of Daniel, you do a lot, to promote the right ideas. That is not it, by the way. You're seeing an Israel flag, won't convince anybody that you should support Israel. All it does is make you a target. And again, a very, very sad statement, but that is the world we live in. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Razi, the Colorado guy was not legally in the US. Yeah, he was an Egyptian, there illegally, and not at all a surprise. But then again, the terrorist attack a few weeks ago in DC, he was legally in the US. He was a citizen. So, yeah, America, I'm for open immigration, but checking everybody at the door and maybe thinking twice before you let somebody in from certain places. Uh, though I wouldn't support an overall ban. Daniel.
Somebody in the chat says if Trump gets us into forever war, he will lose a lot of support from U.S. Americans. First of all, he will not lose any support ever. There is nothing Trump can do to ever lose support. He doesn't even need to care. He doesn't need to win pretty much any election from now on. So and again, like I'm not calling for if he's just gonna do like Afghanistan or something where we don't even know what we're doing, then yeah, don't bother with that. The what the goal when it comes to Iran is either simply destroy their nuclear capabilities to whatever extent you can, or take down the whole regime. I don't think Iranian regime would take a long time, but that requires conviction, that requires to have a certain plan, that requires a certain vision for the future, which I don't think Trump has or has shown any sort of like reason to believe. He wants not only deals with sort of like Iran, he wants deals with Saudi Arabia. He wants to expand his Abraham Accords. He wants for Syria to join the Abraham Accords. So that's what we get with him. It's all deals. It's no actual solutions, right? Like you don't solve a problem but by making a deal with the dictatorship. When was ever such a problem like solved? Did this work with like Nazi Germany? Did it work with Soviet Union? Did it work with China? What country did our recognition of them, our cooperation with them, sort of led to a brighter future, led to a more prosperous times or a freer world? It simply, you might not be calling for forever wars, but you are calling for forever dictatorships. You're calling for these dictatorships to be preserved by our sanction through the UN, through our trading with them, through whatever, and by us not responding, right? Like with Iran, we are not talking even about some like threat that maybe we're not talking about like Vietnam or something that maybe in the future they'll have a threat to us or something. We're talking about they've killed Americans, they invaded US soil, they are actively supporting terrorist organizations that are kidnapping and killing Americans. That's happening today, not sometimes maybe in the future. today.
Um, yeah, if we talk about forever wars, look, the lessons of history are very clear. The person who moved us toward forever wars, or at least a really horrible war, uh, in this country was Chamberlain. The person who moved this country towards peace was Churchill. The person who recognized the threat and said we can only defeat it militarily was the person who brought peace. So that's how you bring peace. When a side says death to your entire country, we want to kill all of you, and we're building a bomb that can do it. You don't ask them not to do it. They might say they won't do it, as Iran has said in the past, but you assume that they are the savages that they seem they are, and that all evidence suggests they are. Um, Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, now I won't go on pro-Israel events. Too scared after Colorado. I understand that, and it's again a very scary sign of the times. I don't know what to say beyond that. Yeah. Uh, Parting thoughts, Daniel?
I mean, for Trump, it's the goal is clear. He has like this is what's most disappointing about this. He has this like unique opportunity in all regards when it comes to both domestic and international politics. In domestic politics, he has the Supreme Court. He has both of his houses. He has full supporters of. He only has sycophants as his supporters. He can do whatever he wants on both domestic and international politics, and I feel like he's like wasting most of it, right? Like we don't see any good to come out of it, or we see very little comparatively.
Well, speaking of no good will come out of it, Greta is on her way, along with the Onion Knight to Gaza to break the siege. Yeah. Sir Davos Seaworth knows what he's doing. I'm not sure Greta does, but anyway, we will see what goes on there. I really, really wanted to be on this episode. Something came up and I can't be, but Daniel, you are joined by Nicholas Provenzo and Ia Reichel, right? Who I'm sure will give Greta the treatment she deserves, and I will be on in coming days, and I'm kind of guessing this is not going away in the news. But yeah, I will say one thing. This is a war. This is an act of war. It's an act of war during a war. Israel, I hope you have learned the lesson from the last time. You tell a ship to turn around and they don't. They are not going there to aid anybody. They are going there to kill Jews. So be prepared and do the right thing. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. The reality show starts in a couple of minutes.